Okay, y'all, I'm going to talk to y'all today about how I make my alcohol ink rainbow badge buddy. This is something that I saw another amazing tumbler maker use on her tumblers, and I just kind of applied this to badge buddies. I love working with badge buddies because it gives me a pretty decent size canvas to work on, whereas badge rules are much smaller. I started with a 1/16 size or thickness badge buddy, and I buy these at Zindy, and I'll have everything linked in my description section underneath. But it starts off with a white acrylic, so I don't have to spray paint or prep or anything like that. So that's super fantastic. So after I started with the blank white acrylic badge buddy, I went ahead and did my normal glitter mixture, which is a resin and glitter mixed together, and then I applied it to my blank and went ahead and cured this. So this is the spot where we're at right now. So with nothing further to do, I'm going to switch my camera around a little bit, and I'm going to show you the different products that I use, as well as go through my technique. Okay, so as most of y'all know, if you've ever watched any of my lives, I work off of these little cardboard packing pieces, and this is just tape rolled over. It keeps my blank secure while I'm working on it and works really well for me. So we're going to start. All of this is going to be the Pinata paint colors. I start off with, this is just magenta Pinata paint or alcohol ink. I also have Sunbright Yellow. I have Baja Blue. And I have just Passion Purple. Again, all these are Pinata paints, alcohol inks. And I make my rainbow and blend as I go. So I'm only using those 4 colors rather than 6 or 7. Next thing I use is I just use any type of makeup sponge that you have. I actually prefer the ones that are a little bit more rounded, but my Walmart was out of stock on those, and so it was just some random mixture, and this is what I have left. When working with alcohol inks, I do like to use gloves because they are pretty messy, and I don't like to stain my hands with the alcohol ink. I start by cutting my makeup sponge in 2, and I don't reuse these. I use these once and then move on. I've tried reusing them, but myself cannot get my life together, and they end up bleeding all the colors together. So I will go ahead and start with the pink. I saturate the tip of that with the pink. I will go ahead and start dabbing this on, and keep in mind we are going to be blending the pink and the yellow together to make an orange. So I do like to make my line of pink pretty thick because we are going to be using part of this as orange. Then we're going to go in with our Sunbright Yellow. Again, make sure it's really well mixed. I'm going to use the same tip or the same part of the makeup sponge that I used for the pink. I'm just going to turn it over, and I'm going to saturate this with yellow. Oops. I'm going to start by going down the middle of this one with yellow. Keep in mind, the yellow is also going to be mixed with the blue to make the green version. So keep that in mind whenever you're making your colors. Then how we're going to make the orange is we're going to just kind of go back and forth, and we're going to blend this pink and this yellow together so that we can make this into an orange. And you're just going to work with it. It's not any exact science. Just kind of keep working with the yellow, going back and forth. You can always add more alcohol ink if you don't like the way that it's turning out. We're gonna go back to our pink. I'm gonna blend this out. And I'm gonna end up cleaning this up because I don't like how that's so muddied there with that yellow, but we will go back and do that last. Next, we're gonna grab our blue. And this is another reason why I like working with the kind of the rounded makeup sponges rather than these. It helps blend them and not make such a huge contrasted line. Next, we're going to go in with blue. This blue is pretty light. I've tried different blues and they all kind of just come out really light on this white base. So we've already started with mixing the yellows. So I'm just going to be a little bit careful here so that hopefully I can get more of an ombre into this blue, because this blue could easily take over the yellow. And we're just moving this around until we kind of get what we like. That looks pretty good. That looks pretty good. Finally, we're gonna take our purple. Hold on, my dogs are barking. Sorry, y'all. Okay, sorry. I don't know why my dogs are barking so much today. Normally they just bark at my neighbor dogs. So we're just going in with the purple. This purple is really deeply saturated. So I do like to be a little bit careful whenever I'm blending this because it can again take over. And I want it to blend well. I don't want it to take over that blue. So there we go. We kind of have that violet look in between there. So the only thing I'm going to come back in and clean up is this yellow area here. So I'm just going to grab another makeup sponge because yellow is so light. It's one of those that you just have to start completely over. Otherwise, it's not going to work out for you. So as you can see, going back over, alcohol inks are super forgiving. You can just kind of go back over with the same, another or the same color of alcohol ink and blend them together. So you have this really nice ombre. I'm going to go ahead and clean up this, oops. I'm going to use the back of this. I'm going to go ahead and clean up this green area too and try and make this a little bit more ombre here. Okay, so let's see what this looks like. This is still pretty muddy, so let me go back through. And this is all just, you just trial and error. You work with it till you're happy. And this looks better in person than it does on the camera. The camera is really kind of pointing out all of the flaws. Okay, that looks pretty good. See if I can blend that out a little bit. Okay, that looks pretty good. I'm pretty happy with that. Again, this is going to kind of bring out the flaws a little bit more, the camera will. Once we get the resin over top, it'll be a little bit more ombre, I guess is what you could say. So see how I've completely messed up my gloves? That's why I use the gloves whenever I use alcohol ink. So the thing that I will recommend is that whenever you're doing these with the alcohol ink, you really want to make sure that you don't let your resin sit on it very long before you put it underneath your UV light. It does have a tendency, if you don't spray seal this, which you could, if you don't spray seal that, then you can start having this run, and it will also lighten up your colors significantly. Okay, so we're at this stage right now where we've got all of our alcohol inks on there. The next step is to go ahead and put your resin on top. You can seal this. That's not a problem to seal it. I don't, just because I don't like extra steps. The only thing I caution against, like I was saying, is don't let the resin sit on here for very long. Like once you're done smoothing it all out, definitely make sure that you put this underneath your UV light, because these colors will start to bleed and they will also start to lighten up quite a bit. So go ahead and just get this all smoothed out. It's just your first coat anyway. Hit it with your heat gun and put it underneath your UV light. Okay, so we are now at this stage. We've put one coat of resin on our Badge Buddy. The next step is to go ahead and get our vinyl ready so that we can make the title. So I have my my title already cut out. I just used a Cricut machine. I'm going to go ahead and weed out the things that the middle pieces, and then I'm going to reverse weed the rest of it. Grab me a piece of transfer tape. I will also make a video on reverse weeding if that's something y'all want, but it's pretty self-explanatory. You're going to make sure that you put your transfer tape down before you've peeled off the rest of the vinyl that's outlining it. Make sure that you burnish it really well. And then we're going to go ahead and flip it over and then just peel it back. So that takes all of, okay, sorry about that. So we've just peeled away this piece here, and it leaves our teacher vinyl on here. Now keep in mind, all of this is mirrored, so this is actually the correct way. I just kind of eyeball this here. I will put all of my dimensions and everything that I use for the titles and everything also in the description section for you, but then I've just laid that down, and we will go ahead at this point and put another coat of UV resin on it. This should be our last coat of UV resin after we get this done. One thing that I like to also emphasize here is that since it is our last coat of UV resin, because I'm using resin rockers, I'm sure this applies to other resins as well, but after I've got this all spread on, I want to make sure that I let it rest for about 5 minutes before putting it underneath my UV light. The reason for that is the Resin Rockers UV resin is self-leveling, and so it will continue to self-level, as well as get all the last few little micro bubbles out of there, so that you have a perfectly glass looking finish on there. Okay, so I'm just going to hit this with my heat gun, then let it rest for about 5 minutes. I'll put it underneath my UV light, and I'll see y'all whenever we get back. Okay, so we have now put on our final coat of UV resin. We have a perfect glass finish on here. The next step to finishing this up is we're going to take an X-Acto knife, and we're going to clean up all these edges, and we're going to also clean up all of this alcohol ink overspill. So let's go ahead and get to it. So to clean it up, I'm just going to take my X-Acto knife, and I'm going to run this along the edge here, being really careful, obviously, not to cut yourself, not to go too fast. Just want to get any overspill of the resin or glitter, and just kind of clean up those edges so that they're nice and professional looking. Don't forget to get the little insert here where you would put your badge through. So now that we've got all of the edges cleaned up, I'm just going to take a Q-tip here and then get some of my, this is 100% acetone. I just get it at Walmart, and then this little push bottle I got at Dollar Tree. So I'm just going to put a little bit of acetone on this Q-tip, and I'm going to clean this right up. This works for alcohol inks. It also works for any spray paint or anything that you have. Any type of little overspill like that, it'll clean it up nice. I like to use the Q-tips rather than a cotton ball or something else, just because I feel like I have a lot of control over it. Plus, whenever you're dealing with just this 1/16 acrylic, or even 1/8 acrylic for that matter, you don't want a whole bunch of acetone leaking onto the front of the badge reel and ruining the UV resin that you've got. Let's finish this up here. I'm also going to make sure I get inside here. Make sure that's nice and cleaned up. And I always go from the back rather than going from the front, because again, I don't want to get this acetone on the front of my UV resin because it's going to eat that away. Other than that, we're all done here, and I hope you go ahead and subscribe. I'm going to be adding some more videos to our playlist, anything from badge reels from start to finish, badge buddies from start to finish, different techniques that I use, as well as Cricut tips, and anything else that I can kind of think of that I feel like would be helpful for you. Make sure to check out the description. I'm going to have a link to everything that I've used here, as well as some discount codes. So give me a thumbs up and a hit that subscribe button, and let me know in the comments what you think of this tutorial and what you want to see in the future.